Welcome to the Successful Life Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Berrier, and I'm here with my good friend, Tony Freeman. What's up, brother?
Man, how you doing? Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, dude. It's been a long time since we've talked on here, anyhow. We've kept up with
Yeah,
each other quite a bit personally.
yeah.
And it's been so long, Tony. I don't even remember what we talked about the last time, but so much has happened in my life and in your life over the last few years since I've known you that some of these things I want to get into today. And as I've told you, the podcast's taken a bit different of a turn. We've veered away from business and sales and growing financially to more along the lines of growing spiritually, growing personally, developing personally, health, fitness, a lot of things that you can speak about. But before we get into it, Tony, I highly doubt there's too many people that don't know who you are, but maybe there's a couple out there. So give us a little overview of who you are, some of the things that you've done, if you don't mind.
Okay, cool. Tony Freeman, Toney. You can Google me. I used to be known as the X-Man. I guess I still am known as the X-Man from my bodybuilding career. And I'm the oldest of a preacher kid, oldest of four, preacher's kid. My mom's a teacher. And so I had a really fairly strict upbringing. And when I was living through it, I was like, why are y'all so hard on me? But as a 58-year-old adult, I'm really grateful for that structure and that they taught me how to be, what's the word, the patience and also temperance. So when I got off into my own and started doing my own thing, I set mental and spiritual boundaries that I wouldn't go beyond. So that kind of kept me I was right near the flame, but I wasn't in the fire. You know what I'm saying? So, and I basically went through that whole lifestyle and whatnot. And then I really knew I was chosen from a young kid. Like I say, being in that strict upbringing, when I left home, I wanted to experience everything. So I said, I'm going to experience every drug, every situation that I wanted to experience so I can speak from a place of experience and not just hearing about it. So I went and did everything I could think of, everything, like I say, within my boundaries and limits. And it all brought me back to the same thing. I always tell people, everything always returns to its original state. And I remember when I was 19, when I decided to become a bodybuilder, growing up as a preacher's kid, I looked at, I used to be a singer as well. So singing, bodybuilding, all that is a secular thing, something that really was outside of God, basically. And I lived my life like that. Like, in other words, I believed in God and I feared God, but I wanted to do my own thing. So I put God on hold or pause or whatever you want to call it and said, I'll be back. I'll be back. And I went and did my thing. And it's just so funny how I think I got to the pinnacle of bodybuilding, the pinnacle of male dancing, the pinnacle of everything that I was doing. And God just humbled me. He really, like, I think in 2001 is when it all really came together. I got COVID and I started taking bodybuilding serious at 202 pounds. I got COVID and I ended up going all the way down to 202 pounds. So I considered that my factory reset. And God basically said, okay, I've stripped you of all that flesh that you acquired from a 162-pound bodybuilder to 323 pounds at my peak weight. That's literally double. So I literally doubled my flesh. And when God was taking me through my transformation after a lot of prayer and fast and cleansing, I started to really think and say, what was that? What was that other 162 pounds? It was all the food, all the chemistry, all the women, you know what I'm saying? Like traveling to all these different countries, that became a part of my flesh. And in order for God to really use me, he had to strip me of all of that. I remember being on my knees praying. I said, God, remove the desire or the drive or whatever to want to be like that so I can do the right thing. And I remember I felt like I was dying actually, and I felt reborn. And he literally removed the parasites. I think we got into that in our last podcast, but just remove those things from my flesh so I can actually not only hear and see what he's doing, but actually live it and basically exude it from myself. So when people see me, they see that I'm walking with Christ. They see that I literally am a changed man. Like all my friends who know me over the years, my family, my friends, my loved ones, I confessed all my sins to them when I was going through my whole trial, and I repented. And that means a lot of people ask for forgiveness, but repentance is different. Repentance is a different level. That means you have a way, you change the way you think, you change the way you live, to change the way you act. It's not just, I'm not going to do that no more. You know what I'm saying? It's really like looking at those same temptations have never left. They're in my face literally every day. And I just look at it with different eyes now. And so that's where I am with my journey. And through business, through relationships, with my fitness, everything is, I'm living for the kingdom. Where before I was God fearing and love God, but I was living for myself. I was doing what I wanted to do. And I just have a different mindset, a different attitude. And I wake up every day before my feet even hit the ground. I pray to the Most High. And I ask him, I'm like, thank you, number one. But number two, guide my steps, guide my hands, everything that I do, my speaking, everything that I do, I want to put him first. And it's a really beautiful thing. It's really a beautiful thing, a beautiful way to be.
So I think you mentioned you had to walk, talk, something like that. And I think really what you're saying is you got to put action behind the things you say you're going to do. In my recovery program, we talk about, we make living amends. What that means, what that means to me, and it's similar to what you're saying, is that if you're making a decision to smoke weed and you say, well, I'm going to stop smoking weed. Well, the way you prove that is you stop smoking weed. You have to put
Right.
action behind it. Instead of saying, I'm just going to stop tomorrow, or I'm going to stop next week, or I'm going to stop eating Twinkies every day, or whatever that is, putting the action behind it then shows it actually proves two things. It proves that now you could trust yourself. That's the first thing.
Yep.
Because if you keep the promises to yourself, you'll start keeping them to other people. But it's really hard to trust. It's really hard for other people to trust you and for you to even trust your word with other people if you can't even keep it to yourself. I
Yep.
mean, you've been extremely dedicated in the fitness world for years, and that dedication is something that I'm a dedicated person and I'm a disciplined person, but I can't. You could walk us through some of the stuff that you had to do in a disciplinary way to stay at the top of that bodybuilding game really until you were about 50 years old, right? That
Yep.
was your
Yep.
last show, I think, was at 50 years old.
Yep.
To think about a bodybuilder even stepping on a stage at anywhere near 50 years old seems absurd to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
It was absurd because I was standing on the left was a 22-year-old, on the right was a 26-year-old. I remember being in the elevator with them before the show, and I was just like, my children are older than y'all. So it was really crazy. And like I say, I was addicted to bodybuilding. I was addicted to the entire process. I was locked in probably way more than most people. I ended up doing over 70 shows, and like it was my entire life. And when I left the sport, I was injured, but I could have left for a little while and came back. But when I saw where I was physically and spiritually, I realized that bodybuilding was literally holding me back from being what I really could be. And again, at 50 years old, even if I won, there's only so much more you could do. So I'm glad that I was mature enough to basically leave and stay gone. Although I may compete next year just because I can, not because I'm in that same mind frame. But I'll be 60 next year, and it's it's one of those things where physically I know I can do it. People ask me almost every day, are you getting ready for a show? But I'm not. I'm really, like I said, I'm living for the kingdom, and I want to show people that you could do it the right way. You know what I'm saying? I consider the way that I did it before the right wrong way. In other words, I did a lot of things right to achieve what I was trying to achieve, but it was the wrong mindset. And I found I really come to terms that if you allow it to, bodybuilding can be one of the highest forms of idolatry. And you end up worshiping yourself. You end up worshiping the image in the mirror. And that's just not the way we were designed to be. So,
So I know you
like say,
mentioned.
when you talk,
Go ahead.
no, when you talked about the weed thing,
Let's
I was
get into that.
addicted to marijuana. And so I went from smoking, right? And then I was like, you know what? I want to be able to train intensely. So I need to like protect my lungs. So I bought me a volcano, a vaporizer. And it's actually a medical device. So I felt like, okay, I'm not doing the damage to my lungs, even though, you know what I'm saying? And so I did that for 20 years. And then I said, you know what? I don't even want to do that anymore. So when Kelly was going through her cancer therapy, we started doing our RSO. So start doing the oil, start doing the cannabis oil. And I was like, you know what? This is really medicine. I'm good with this. But the one thing that it still does is get you high. It gets you stoned. And I was watching a video one day, and this guy was like, he was like, you can't hear God talk to you when you're intoxicated.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that literally hit me like a ton of bricks, because when I was going through my process, God was really talking to me. I like literally can hear him audibly in my head, like outside of my thoughts was you know what I'm saying? Like I literally can hear that. And I was just like, wow, I don't want to not be able to hear God talking to me, because when he was taking me through my process, the things he was saying is literally what saved my life, because I heard it and then I listened to it and then I acted on it. And so he proved to me that, yes, this is really me talking to you. And what really got me to just say, you know what, I can't do it anymore, is the little things that God asks you to do. I'm talking about things that you wouldn't even think, you know what I'm saying? So minuscule that, but God was like, no, I'm with you in all things. And I want to be able to trust you. So when I ask you to do something simple, then, and you don't do it, then I can't really trust you. So the last time that I guess I didn't listen, I was driving home from Columbus, Georgia. I went to a bodybuilding show. That morning, I was driving 80, 90 miles an hour all the way to the show. That night, when I left the show, I was in such a good mood. I said, you know what? I'm just going to chill tonight. I'm not going to drive fast. I'm just going to take my time. And I remember getting in the car, and I hear God say, turn on Waze. There's going to be police out. And I literally turned to, like, God was sitting in my passenger seat. He was like, no, I got it. I'm chilling tonight. Right? And put my seatbelt on and drove off. And I'm driving like 65, obeying the speed limit the whole time. And this camper got in front of me, and I wanted to get around the camper. So I punched it. I drive a Tesla. So I punched it, went around the camper really quick, and the police was sitting right there. State trooper sitting right there, pulled me over. I was doing like 88 miles an hour. He gave me a ticket for 80 miles an hour so I wouldn't get in trouble. And all I could do is just look in the seat, like, and God was like, in all things, I want you to listen to me and obey me. And that right there broke me. I know that's not, it's one of those things where people can say, oh, that was a coincidence. I'm like, well, if you had heard it like I heard it, it was almost like Kelly was sitting in the seat with me and I told her I poo-pooed it. You know what I'm saying? And so now I listen to every little thing that he tells me and I act on it. And he shows me that, yes, that was me. And man, my life is just so sweet. I can't really explain it. I pray that everyone gets to this point of consciousness, because it really is amazing.
All right. So I'll verify a similar story, because it wasn't the same exact thing, but I was leaving a meeting one night. I was still smoking weed, oil, like you said. I'd hit the pin a couple of times. So like I wasn't like blistered high by any stretch. And I'm driving away from the meeting, and I'd had a conversation with God about 6 months before that. And I said, look, I know I've got to stop this. I'm just not willing to do it right now. I am willing, but I'm just not willing to do it right now. Verbatim, it's a conversation I had. And I left that meeting. I hit that pin twice, and I was driving about 70 miles an hour, and I almost ran a red light. Like completely, it just came out of the blue. I had to slam on brakes, and it scared the daylights out of me. And so then I keep going after the light turns green, and the same exact thing happens with the exact same speed limit. And at that moment, I knew that was it. I knew that God was telling me, all right, dude, like you've had enough time to make your decision and to be willing. If you don't do something about it right now, you're going to get that third strike and you're not going to really like that.
Right.
And so I know for me in my life, I don't need that third strike. So I tossed it out the window. That was March 26, 2023. And I haven't had any cannabis since then. So it's a very
Awesome.
similar story to what you're talking about. Hang on. All right. So
Yep.
my point there is like, sometimes I don't listen when I need to listen. But
Right.
most of the time at this point, especially after that incident, I've been completely clean and sober since then. And I pray every day. Every morning I get hit my knees and every night. And I think hitting my knees is it humbles me because I don't really want to do it because I feel like I shouldn't have to do it. But
Mm.
there's a difference in my conversation with God when I hit my knees than when I don't. If I lay in the bed and pray, I know it's a half-hearted conversation. But if I hit my knees, I'm connected not really to the earth because I'm in a house, but it feels like I'm connected in a way that helps me to be able to communicate in a different way with God.
Awesome. Awesome. I like that. I like that. I I pray mostly because I meditate the same way, laying on my back with my palms facing up, and I'm completely relaxed. And I pause, I don't know, for quite a few minutes before I even start to pray. And I like to have conversations like that, and I get a response. I sometimes I pray on my knees, but most of the time, because I'm walking with God all the time now, you know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, it's like a companion. You know what
Sure.
I mean? And I don't. If you really look at it, God doesn't need our worship. You know what I'm saying? It's like He really doesn't. So I like it. I think it's the walk. I think it's the companionship, and not knocking, bowing, or kneeling, or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't think it's a requirement to get the job done. I think if that's what you choose to do, then that's what you choose to do. I want God to tell me, listen, I never used to take God to the gym with me. That was my idle time. That was me worshiping myself in the mirror. Man, now I ask God to come to the gym and show me what to do in the gym, bro. And He does, bro. It's so crazy. He told me, I said, you need to start lifting free weights again. Because after I went 7 years without training. So when you come back in the gym, it literally feels like you're tearing stuff. It's just like horrible. So I stuck to machines. I tried to do as little as possible. And over time, I started building up, and God was like, it's time to start doing free weights again. Because when you lift free weights, not only are you working your muscles, you're working your central nervous system and your tendons and ligaments. When you do machines, you're just applying force. The machine is going to do the same thing for everyone. As a skilled athlete, you can get a better result than the average person. But in reality, the machine is designed to do that thing. Well, when you lift free weights, you're controlling the weight and all the angles and all the movements. And so I've been doing that for the last probably 3 weeks. And man, it's amazing. And I really literally thank God for nudging me in that direction because I was avoiding it like the plague. I haven't squatted since 2016. So now I'm squatting every week and I'm back up to 20 reps. Of course, I'm using lightweight, but the point is I'm doing the movement and I'm getting that reconnection again.
So I think if anybody, I know that a lot of people listen to this, it's also going to be, the guy posts these on YouTube. And if you see Tony's arms, they're massive. If you've ever seen a picture of Tony when he was competing, he's just the most massive human being I've probably ever come across. So one would think that you lift massively heavy weights, but I'm pretty sure you told me a story one time about where you went out of the country, and we won't have to go into the deep details of it, but you went out of the country and a guy handed you, I think it was a 25-pound weight to lift, which by the size
It
of
was a
you,
15. It was a
15-pound weight.
15.
All
Yeah.
right, so walk
Yeah.
us through what your thoughts are on whether people should be lifting heavy weight and pros and cons, and whether they should be lifting how you, just give us a bit of a context there.
So I know that there's all kinds of studies in science and whatnot, but the reality is heavy is relative. You know what I'm saying? Every body part has a different threshold of how much weight it can handle with quality reps and in perfect form. And so your legs can handle a lot more weight than, say, your biceps. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I adjust the weight according to what it feels like. And if in reality, if no one put the little numbers on the side, you would never know how much weight you're lifting. In other words, you can't close your eyes and grab the 50 or the 60 and tell. You could tell one is heavier than the other, but you can't tell that it's a 50 or a 60. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I think if people would train for the feel, form, and function, learn the function of the muscle. I used to do seminars all the time, and I would ask people, they would ask me, how do you get your arm so big? Because they see me lifting with the 15s and the 20s, and they think I'm maybe just warming up. I'm like, no, this is what I actually use. And I tell them, I say, what's the function of the bicep? And I get a blank stare. Like, no one really knows. And I'm like, well, if you didn't have biceps, how would you eat? You would have to bring your face to the food like a dog. Well, your biceps bring your food or things towards your face. You know what I'm saying? And that's their function. So if you take your hands and hold them out to your side and bring them towards your face, you feel your bicep contract. So all you do is add resistance to that. And where you know it's too heavy is when you have to use other muscles to actually get your hand to come to your face. So that's how you determine how much you can actually curl, is by holding on to the dumbbell, first starting with no weight and then add 10 and 15. Most people is going to be about 15 pounds before they have to engage their front delt to lift. And so once you learn how to lift the 15-pound dumbbell with your biceps, now you can go to the 17s and the 20s and but I think 30 is probably my limit, but I could probably curl 90. You know what I'm saying?
All
So
right, so let me ask you this. So I was literally telling Maddie this. You met Maddie at Nick's wedding, and I was explaining to her this morning because I used to meet a trainer, and I was telling her we were working chest, which as a female, a lot of females don't work chest a lot. And I was explaining to her because the amount of weight that I put on there, if it doesn't need to be a struggle, because if you visualize those pecs squeezing that weight, right?
yep.
If you visualize that area that you're trying to work, your focus will be on that area you're trying to work. Does that make sense? Does that something that you also do?
So the function of the pecs, right? They move your elbows, but your whole arm is connected. So they move them in and out, up and down. So in order for them to go up, you have to use your deltoid. So really, it's a more of an in and out situation. So when you take your hands and bring them together, you feel your chest work, and then you can do it down low, you can do it up high. You know what I'm saying? So that's what their job is. And so now you just find a weight. Once you know that, you find a weight that you can actually do that without incorporating any other muscle. Now, when you use compound movements, you need to actually put your chest in the primary mover position. So you squeeze your shoulder blades together, which takes your shoulders out of it. So now your shoulders are in support mode and your triceps are the secondary movers. And so now you got your shoulder blades pinched together, and now you bring your elbows forward, and that flexes your pec. You're doing a fly, it flexes your pec. So that's really, and like I say, for legs, your quads are to straighten your legs out. It's the version of your triceps. Your hamstrings is to bring your foot towards your butt. You see what I'm saying? So if you focus on the function first, then you'll end up finding the right weight, and then you'll get stronger and stronger. And that's what progressive overload is. Progressive overload doesn't mean just add another plate. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
It's find the weight that you can use in perfect form, perfect function, and then progressively add weight as you get stronger.
All right, so let's get into I don't know if we covered the parasite situation last time or not, but it's been so long. I think it's important that you're I mean I don't know if you're an anomaly story. I don't know if this is a normal
Yeah, I
story,
don't
but
either.
it's a very
It,
interesting story that you have experienced personally about having a parasite in your body. And I don't care how graphic you get as graphic as you want,
okay,
but I
okay,
think it's important for people to hear what you went through.
okay. So my last contest was the Arnold Classic in 2016, and as people know that bodybuilders we use diuretics. So I went to start to do my diuretics, and I'm a microdose type of dude. So I was using Diazide, which is like I think it's like 25 milligrams. So it's a capsule. So I would open up the capsule, right, and then I would divide the powder into 4 sections. So I'm basically doing 7 milligrams, something like that, 6.5 milligrams at a time. So I do the first little segment, and bro, I must have peed like 22 times. I started counting them after like 10. I was just like, wait a minute, what is going on? That's all I did, and I peed like 22 times. I was like, something's not right. I ended up getting last place at the show, and I was like, you know what? Something's going on with me. I already had a soft tissue injury. So I said, until I find out what's going on with me, I'm not going to compete anymore. And I'm pretty sure I told a couple of people, but I know I said it out loud. So I was supposed to do an appearance a few weeks later after that show, and it was in Utah. So a friend of mine who I talked to this guy maybe once a year, something like that. And he calls me out of the blue. And he was like, I saw on the internet you're going to Utah. You should go see this guy. His name was Joe Preli. He has a machine that can tell you everything that's going on with your body. And I'm saying to myself, I'm just like, okay, because that was just struck me very weird because I didn't know where that was coming from at the time. So I go to Utah and I meet Joe. I go into his office and he sits me down. He puts these little things on my wrist. Well, no, I'll take that back. Before I went to go see Joe, I went to a naturopath here in town, and he said, Tony, you're I know this might sound weird, he said, but you're malnutrition. You're deficient in a bunch of different nutrients. And I was just like, okay. I'm like, I'm eating 7 meals a day. How the hell am I malnutrition? That was the weirdest thing. And so he said, you also have a parasite in your kidney. I was like, okay, what kind is it? He said, I don't know what kind it is. So he gave me some herbs and sent me on my way. So a couple of weeks later, I'm out there sitting in Joe's chair. Joe puts this little, it looks like headphones, but it's not. You put it on your temples, and I'm looking at a screen that has an image of a human body, and it starts scanning my body. And he's talking to me, I'm looking at him, but then I started looking at the screen because all the things that I know is wrong with me, like my pec tear, something in my neck, my kidney showed up, or I have slight arthritis in my right knee. And so all those things popped up on the screen without me saying anything. And so after the scan, he starts telling me everything about myself. He started asking me questions. Have you ever been to this country? Have you ever been to this country? And I'm like, yeah. And he said, I see you were very promiscuous. And I'm looking at him like, I haven't told this man nothing. How do you know my life? What the heck? It was freaking me out. So anyway, I said, well, maybe it is something to this. I said, this doctor told me I had a parasite in my kidney. Can you check my kidney out? So he clicked on my kidney and he said, your kidney function is fine. He said, it's a little stressed, but it's fine. And so he did like a cross section. And this on the scan, it has a bunch of different colors. Green is good and black is bad. And it goes from green to yellow to orange to red to blue, all the way to black. So in the bottom of my kidney shaped like that, down in the bottom was a black spot. He clicks on the black spot, this long word pops out. So I Google the word, and it's a kidney worm. And it says right next to it, how do you get this parasite? And it says eating raw seafood or fish. And I have been eating 8 to 12 ounces of raw tuna every single day for like 6 months straight. And so in that moment, I was like, I can't even be mad because that's exactly how you get them. And so, of course, I'm tripping because if you continue to Google, you'll see that there's no real cure for it. You have to figure out how to kill the worm, or they take the kidney. And so that's what put me on my major trek to really learn, number one, how to identify parasites and how to kill them. And so, like I said, a lot of prayer, fasting, herbs. Now I use ivermectin and fenbendazole and methylene blue and stuff like that. But back then I didn't really know about that. I heard about it, but I didn't really know about it. So I just did a lot of prayer, fasting, and herbs. Towards the end, like 18 months later, it took a long time too, because it's in cycles. I had been releasing other parasites, but I still had this kidney worm. So I stumbled across this lady was talking about using pure gum spirits turpentine to kill bad bugs in your body. And gum spirits turpentine is a pure spirit. It's distilled pine sap. And so it's a clean spirit. And so alcohol is a dirty spirit, it's an evil spirit. So I basically, how you do it, and I don't recommend this to anyone, especially if you haven't done all the other things first. It's like, this is like the last thing that you do. And you take like 3 sugar cubes. You got to fast for like 3 or 4 days. That makes the parasite really weak and hungry. You take the sugar cubes, you put the turpentine on there, and you eat the sugar cube, and you could literally feel them coming to get the sugar and then running away from the turpentine. I'm praying and fasting, and I'm praying to God. I said, Father, you have to remove this from my flesh. I said, I don't want to be asking for forgiveness for the same sins over and over again. I said, please remove it from my flesh so I can do better. And in the moment of me praying, I felt this squeezing sensation in my kidneys. Now, your kidneys aren't supposed to flex, it's smooth muscle, but I literally felt like something, like it squeezed, like it flexed, like a cramp almost. The next morning, I get up and I'm still praying. I'm still in the spirit. And I go to the bathroom to use the restroom, and I'm standing there urinating, and I feel this sensation like I got struck by lightning, and that worm came out into the toilet. It was mind blowing to, number one, go through that entire process, pray for it to be removed from my flesh, and then God showed me other things, talking to me, and I'm listening and I'm obeying. That's how I ended up in the bathroom in the first place. And then it just came out, and like I literally felt like a new person. Like I literally have been a different person since that moment. And I just am so grateful. And like now I help people with parasites and all kinds of things. I'm not a doctor, and I don't, your body can heal itself. You just have to do the work. You have to do the right things to put it in its right. And so, because it's trying to get to homeostasis anyway. So it's, and most people, they don't want to do the work. That's why they run to the doctor for a prescription or whatever. And they don't want to confess or face their sins. We all know that everything that happens to us, you did it. You did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's how you heal yourself, is facing the fact that I did this to myself. Now, the reason why people have parasites is because when you come in contact with them or exposed to them, you willingly take them into your body, whether it be from eating or your skin, but usually it's from what we put in our mouths is where they really come from. If you have pets, you touch your pet, then you eat something later, that's how you actually get them. And because you do it willingly, that gives them permission to proliferate in your body. It's like when you cleanse your temple, the Bible says the temple is that's where the Holy Spirit dwells, right? So, but the evil spirits or the evil energy dwells in the filth in your temples. So if you want to get right, if you want to get spiritual, if you want to be healed, you have to cleanse your temple first. And I always start people on a detox, and then we want to replenish all the nutrients that we lose, because that's another reason why you get sick, is because your body doesn't have the nutrients to fuel your immune system to hold off whatever it is that's attacking you. So it's like it's a whole process. And like I say, it's fairly simple, but it's not easy at all. And it's nonstop. It's always continue. I tell people all the time, I live in a constant state of detox because I know I'm constantly coming in contact with invaders.
So for people that are listening, I think I'm curious. So how, and I've seen the picture, so I know what you're telling me is 100% the truth, but the folks listening, just give us an idea. Like when you talk about this parasite, Are we talking about an inch? We talking about 6 inches?
So,
Like how big we talking about?
so you remember Big League Chew?
Oh yeah.
All right. So those pink strands, it was
Mm-hmm.
about the size of two of those put together.
So
Yeah.
about 4 or 5 inches long,
Ye- Yeah, at least. Maybe
at least.
I have pictures of parasites 14, 15 inches long, but that particular one was about it almost it was like it looked just like a piece of Big League Chew. It was mangled and whatnot, and it was bruh,
Unbelievable.
bruh. Unbelievable. And I really believe, like I say, the things that you do, like when you do wrong and it's wrong to you, you know it's wrong, but you do it anyway.
Right.
That's that evil energy that's in your flesh. Because if you think about it, if you're a pure human, you would never do anything to harm yourself or anyone else for that matter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you do things like smoking weed, drinking, whatever it is, and I'm not knocking it because I've done it with the best of them. You know you're doing something against your humanity. You know you are, and you do it because you want to do it, and you have to realize that is partially you, but it's also the influence of that outside energy.
Oh yeah, that's right. And I think that's the interesting thing you say, the influence of outside energy. And I think our minds get influenced by a lot of things that are outside of ourselves. And I think a lot of folks, including even me sometimes, will become unconscious to some of these things. I'll give you just a classic example. If you get caught up in every little thing that politicians are doing, everything that's going wrong in the world, and you feed into that stuff on social media and you consume that information daily, eventually it'll consume you.
Oh,
And
100%. They put
100%.
it out there. They control your, when I see people, over politics and all that type of stuff, I'm like, you don't really care. You're focused on paying your bills and what's going on in your household. So you don't really care. But because it's plucking on your strings, and then someone else, you listen to them, and now you want to be combative or just, you know what I'm saying? And that's how you still there?
I am here now. I'm not sure what happened there, but I am back.
Phone, got to plug it up for a minute. Can you still hear me all right?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Yep.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so really, like I say, like going through the presidential election, all this stuff. I was over in Dubai when we dropped the bombs on Iran. And of course, I'm hearing the news, and everybody over here is going crazy. And over there, it's just Tuesday. It's just, you know what I'm saying? It's like the difference between what's important to this group of people or that group of people. I think people need to do a lot more research and not Google. I'm not saying don't use Google. I'm just saying go get the basics in Google and then dig further, because a lot of this stuff is hidden from us. It's there, but it's hidden. So you have to seek it out. Most people just they read the first few things and they run with it. And I'm just like, man, that's what they know you're going to do. So that's why they put it out there like that.
That's right. Yeah, and a lot of that I think is your own. I think this is where psychedelics in the past have helped me, I believe, in my relationship with God. I went and did ayahuasca a couple of times in 2020, and ever since then, it's very apparent to me when there's a distraction in the government or there's a distraction in the world. It's very apparent to me that's not really what I should be looking at. It's That's the distraction. It's the thing that they want you to look at, to focus on. And I don't really know what's going on otherwise. I just know that something else is going on that they don't want me to see. It's been proven.
So if you look at, I'm 58. If you look at history, so I can go all the way back to Martin Luther King, 68, right? I
Mm-hmm.
was born in 66. So Martin Luther King, then after that, it was Vietnam. Then after that, it was the Watergate. And then after that, it was, you know what I'm saying? And if you go now, because you have to understand, after 20 years, they just let it out. that you could go find out what the real truth is. You go all the way back to Vietnam and find out that it was started because the Bay of Tonkin, they were out there and they said that they fired on the American ships, when in reality they were shooting at flying fish. That's literally how they jumped it off. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, if you, like I said, if you go dig all the things that they've ever put out there, especially the stuff that they pushed, they call them false flags or whatever. If you go find out the real truth, that was all a lie. But it's too late now. Nobody cares, number one. But whatever their agenda was, they've already pushed it over. And so you got people on their deathbeds confessing, yeah, the moon landings wasn't real, blah, blah. All that type of stuff that molded our whole country.
Yeah.
All lies, bro. I don't think there's ever been any truth in any of it. Notice how recently all the stuff that's happened, it just goes away. Like, hold up, we was really about to get in a fight over that, and now it's just gone. You know what I'm saying? Now they really are bombing Gaza and all that type of stuff, but what I'm saying is the basis of it is the lie. They're doing that to keep it going, but it's a lie. It's all money. It's all manipulation. Every war has always been funded by the same, both sides funded by the same banks. It's crazy, bro. And that's why I say, even in religion, you have all these different religions. And Catholics, you got to go through the Pope and Mother Mary. And Buddha, you got to go through Buddha. And Christian, you got to go through Jesus. And all these things you have to, but the kingdom of God is within you. And if you really realize that, the Christ consciousness will allow you to understand, wait a minute, I got to fix this first. I can't go outside of me to fix this. This has to happen within you. And just think about it, if everyone did that, all of a sudden, this whole world would flip. It would be completely different. The outside sources, the outside forces is what's keeping everybody in dark and madness, to be honest with you.
That's right. And it's like the mask scenario with the plane. Like if I'm not fixed, if I'm not spiritually fit, there is nothing I can do for anybody else. There's nothing I can do right?
Yeah, other than lead them astray, because you're lost.
That's right.
If you're lost, you can't save anyone. You hear people say no one's coming to save you because they can't.
That's right.
No one can save you. You have to recognize I am a fraction of the Most High, the prime creator. The first sentence in the Bible, not the King James Version, or I'm talking about the original text. It says, the Father of the beginnings created the Elohim, the heavens and the earth. Now, what is the Elohim? The Elohim is all the little G's. And all the little G's help create all this stuff. You see what I'm saying? So the source, the prime creator is the one. And then like I say, that's why there's so many different religions. It's because it's the source, and then the fractions, and then another fraction, and another fraction. We're millennia of fractions of God, but it still comes from the same source. That way, when you tap in and you recognize and realize, and it becomes personal with you, now you can manipulate your reality because you're a creator. You're created in his image. You're a creator. So you can create your own reality, but you won't be able to create it if you're waiting on someone else to show you the way.
That's right.
You got to cleanse your temple. You got to cleanse your temple. You got to meditate. And most people say, I can't meditate. I can't quiet my mind. You're not doing it long enough. Even if you fall asleep, you know what I'm saying? Because when you first start trying to do it, you won't be able to do it. It's so hard. But you got to keep trying and keep trying. And eventually, you'll quiet your mind. First of all, the reason why you can't quiet your mind is because your temple is polluted and the demons is making noise. The parasites and the demons, every time, think about it. Before you go to bed at night, you want a snack, you want to eat something. You never go choose something good for you. You always want to eat something bad. You know why? It's because the bugs want that for dinner. They're getting ready to have a party. So they want party snack. They want party food. You try to go to sleep, they're up doing their thing. That's just how the cycle of life works. And you can't get rid of all of them, but once you cleanse your temple and you start raising your frequency with good nutrition, they can't really do too much. Then you can meditate. It's a process. You got to go through a process. It's not a light switch. You're not going to be able to go, you know what, I'm going to do better. I'm going to stop, whatever. And no, it's not like that. You have to really look in within yourself, cleanse your temple, and then it'll come to you. And it's a journey. Like I say, it was 18 months for me to get to the beginning of my journey. And then I've had several other situations where, like I said, I thought it was over. I thought I was good. It's just the beginning, especially when it comes to parasites. They're in layers. You have the current ones, but you have what they call them. They call them, what they call them? They call them established. They've been there since you was a kid. When you used to play out in the yard, play in the mud puddles and the creeks and all that, those parasites been with you for your whole life. They're a part of your microbiome. Like I said earlier, when you're born, you're 90% human and you're 10% microbiome. When you die, you're less than 10% human, and you're 95% microbiome. In other words, everything that you've collected over your decades, over your life, that became your flesh.
Including experiences.
Your experiences, your food. Think about it. All these people, there's a generation of people who have never eaten non-ultra processed food. Mm-hmm. They've never had whole food. They've never had organic, fresh from the garden. Man, that's crazy when you think about it. And then you look at the condition of everyone.
Right.
And then it makes sense.
It does make sense. Yep. Well, Tony, I know we're getting close to getting out of time here. I think I just want to finish up with, if people are listening to this and they do want to make a transformation in their life, maybe they don't have parasites, maybe they do, where's a good place for them to start? Maybe they just want to lose weight. Maybe they just want to get a little bit healthier. Where would you suggest them start? In the gym?
First of all, we are mammals. So all mammals have parasites. There's no way to escape it. The difference is your immune system keeps them at bay or under control. So I would tell people to start with a basic 24-hour fast. That's going to really tell you. If you fast for 24 hours, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. Something really simple that you could do that will kill a lot of parasites. And if you have a reaction, or you will have a reaction, you could get something like celery juice. So celery, go get you like 2 or 3 stalks, bunches of celery, juice it first thing in the morning, drink it. The salts in there actually activate your liver to push those liver flukes. Because almost everybody has liver flukes. Almost everybody has worms. It's just how bad it is. You either have a little bit, you know what I'm saying, or a lot. So I would do something like that. You could always reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I love coaching people through this stuff. I like to do a little consultation. I had a guy, this guy that I'm training in Dubai, he called me. He was like, "Hey man, I need you to help my boss out. He's really in pain, blah, 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 blah." So I get on the phone with him and I say, "Well, just tell me about your day. Tell me about your life." So he starts talking, and within 3 minutes, I was like, "Bro, you got bugs." And he was like, "You know what? That makes sense, because I had H. pylori back in the day." And he said, "I think it came back." I said, "Well, I'm gonna write you out a protocol and send it to you." So we hung up the phone, and then I went to a friend of mine's house, and he was like, "Man, I'm going to Dubai tomorrow." I was like, "You going to Dubai tomorrow?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I want you to introduce me to some of your friends over there, because I know you have connections." So I called my guy and introduced him, let him exchange phone numbers. And then I left my man's house, and then my dude from Dubai called me. He's like, "Hey man, you know that guy who you helped on the phone?" He's like, "He's over this whole investment group that we have." And I was like, "Shoot," I said, I need to come meet him in person." So the couple of days before that, I looked at the plane tickets, and they were like $2,000. And I was like, "Well, I don't have no reason to go. I'm not going to just go for nothing." But that day they were on sale for $900. So I bought me a ticket, flew over there with my buddy, met the guy. I took him a bunch of herbs and stuff. And literally the next day, he said he felt like $1 million. So I was able to go over there and meet him in person, introduce both of those two guys together. So like I say, when God tells me to move, not only does when he tells you to move, he's going to open up the doors for you. And like I say, the next day when I looked at the plane tickets, they was back to $2,000. So it was one of those things where I needed to go meet this guy in person. I like to lay hands on people. Like Corey, you know me. I like to meet people in person,
Oh,
so I
yeah.
really can their energy. And I was able to help that guy. So that's going to turn into a lot of really cool things. But like I say, I'm walking in. I'm living in my purpose. I'm having a personal relationship with the Most High, and I feel good about it. It's all I really want to do, and it's weird because I'm not religious at all. I don't. I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, so we went to church every week. But I'm trying to tell people, I'm not telling you not to go to church. I'm just saying you are the temple. So you are the temple first. You could go to whatever church you want, but make sure when you're going there that you're already, you know what I'm saying? That God
Yeah.
is already with it. You're not going to meet him. I'm gonna meet you at church. No, you take him with you to church. So that's what I would tell. I tell people, cleanse your temple. And like I say, start with fasting. Like I say, one day you don't have to do nothing crazy. But if you go without food for one day, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. If you want to intensify that one day you're fasting, do that celery juice. And you'll meet a bunch of your friends that you've been harboring and carrying around. And like I say, if you want to go further than that, then you can reach out to me and I'll help you out.
So where can people find you, either on Facebook or Instagram or both?
Instagram is TFXman305. And then Facebook is Tony Freeman. And I'm building a website. I decided that I'm going to build a website that has everything that I do in one place. That way, when we have these conversations, people can just go to the site and then find what they're looking for. So,
all right. Well, cool. When do you think that's going to be out?
It should be done soon. It's TonyXFreeman.com is what it's going to be.
Boom. So perfect. All right, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you big time.
Yeah, man.
All right. Talk soon.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.